They say that the souls in purgatory are those who haven't found peace yet. In the beliefs, they're not in heaven, but not in hell either. That's why many light candles for them, leave water, and ask for favors, because it's thought that when you help them, they can help you too. The topic interests you, so stick around. Forget about the outside world for a moment and dive with me into the paranormal realm. My name is James. Let's begin. My family is deeply devoted to the souls in purgatory. Ever since I can remember, they've always prayed for them or said rosaries. Every 2nd of November, they set up offerings too. They say you have to pray for them, especially the most forgotten souls. My mom tells how that tradition came from her grandfather, my great-grandfather. He was a strong believer too. Every night, he prayed for the souls, lit his candle, left a bit of water, and asked them to rest in peace. He never asked for anything for himself, just prayed so God would take them out of their suffering. But one early morning, many years ago, my great-grandfather experienced something the family never forgot, turning it into a local legend. My great-grandfather lived on a ranch on the outskirts of a rural town in New Mexico. He was a man of the land, like most back then. He lived with his wife and 3 young children. Most days, he came home late from work. By day, he worked as a boot repairman, and in the evenings, he tended to livestock on a nearby farm. He was serious, but they say he had a kind heart. He never spoke ill of anyone and always asked God for the souls in purgatory. One early morning, around 2, he was heading back from work. He took the shortest path, a trail through the fields, no houses, no lights, just tall grass and scrub brush. He rode on horseback with a lantern hanging from the horse's neck. The path was pitch black. You could hear the owls hooting and occasionally his horse snorting. It was a quiet, lonely night, since no one ever passed that way. As he rode along, he saw 2 figures emerge from the shadows of some mesquite trees. Both had their faces covered with bandanas and held rifles in their hands. One shouted, "Get down, old man, hand over the money and the horse if you don't want trouble." My great-grandfather wasn't one for fights. He told them to calm down, that he had very little money, just what he'd earned that day. But the men stepped closer. One aimed his rifle and repeated for him to dismount. My great-grandfather figured he had no choice. He was alone in the middle of nowhere, with no one to help. He started to slide off the horse, but right then, something eerie happened. First, he heard distant moans, followed by voices that grew clearer. The bandits heard them too. Everyone looked around, trying to spot if someone was approaching, but they were alone. No one in sight. His horse grew restless and started shifting on its own. The air felt thick, chilly, colder than that early morning should be. And suddenly, from behind my great-grandfather, out of thin air, a group of riders appeared on horseback, about 15 or more. My great-grandfather thought they were more outlaws, but one spoke loudly to the bandits. "Good evening, friend. What do you need? Are you going to let us pass, or face the consequences? Your choice." The bandits froze. One muttered, "Let's get out of here," and they bolted into the brush, vanishing from view. My great-grandfather breathed a sigh of relief. He turned to thank them all, but none looked familiar, they weren't from the town. A bit nervous, he urged his horse forward a few steps. Then he stopped and turned to thank them again, but when he looked back, no one was there. Not a trace, and he hadn't heard them leave. The trail was utterly empty. My great-grandfather stayed still for a while, confused. His horse was still trembling, and he felt a shiver down his spine. He continued home without looking back. When he arrived, his wife saw how pale he was. She asked what was wrong, but he just said, "The souls accompanied me tonight." The next day, he went to give thanks. He lit several candles and prayed for hours. He thanked the souls for protecting him. From then on, every time he left home, before mounting his horse, he'd always cross himself and say, "May the souls in purgatory accompany me." Over the years, that story became well known locally. My mom told it many times when we were kids. Have a good night, listeners. I always thought my Grandma Evelyn was an unusual woman, not in a bad way, but different. From as far back as I can remember, she was very devoted to the souls in purgatory. Every Monday, without fail, she'd light a candle in the middle of her living room. She said it was her way of helping them find peace. Her house was an old one with high ceilings and cracked walls. She lived alone since my grandpa passed, but she said she never felt alone, that they, the souls, kept her company. As a kid, I didn't understand what she meant, but over the years, many neighbors started sharing strange stories about her. For instance, the man across the street swore that every Monday night around 10, he'd see movement through her windows. Shadows passing from room to room, like people walking inside. It was as if she was hosting a small gathering, but my grandma was elderly, she didn't throw parties, and she could barely get around the house. Her next-door neighbor complained a lot too. Every time we visited, she'd scold us, saying that every Monday she heard footsteps, loud voices, and laughter from Grandma's house, keeping her up late into the night. She wouldn't believe that Grandma lived alone and didn't host gatherings or parties, especially not in the wee hours. We'd ask Grandma about it, but she'd say she was always alone, that maybe they were hearing her souls. I thought it was all exaggeration, but years later, when I was old enough to visit her on my own, something happened that changed my mind. It was a Monday, exactly. I remember it was raining since early afternoon. The power flickered on and off. In the evening, my mom asked me to check if Grandma needed anything because she wasn't answering the phone. So I walked over. It was about 7:30 at night. When I got there, from outside, I heard voices inside. There were many, like Grandma was at a party. They weren't clear voices, more like murmurs, as if a crowd was chatting softly, with some laughter mixed in. I stood still at the door for a few seconds. The sounds came from deep inside, sometimes closer, sometimes farther. I knocked, but no one answered. I knocked harder. That's when the noise stopped abruptly. Everything went silent. I heard Grandma's footsteps, followed by "Who's at the door?" I said it was me, checking if she needed anything. When she opened up, she greeted me with a smile. She said, "Come in, listeners." What a surprise. The house was completely empty. I asked Grandma what she'd been doing before opening the door. She led me to the living room and said she was praying to her blessed souls. If it didn't bother me, she'd continue her prayers. She knelt before a small table, rosary in hand. Her eyes were closed, and she murmured a prayer so softly I could barely make it out. I couldn't believe what I'd heard and stood there, mouth agape. I just watched her pray for those souls. As I stared, the candle flames flickered, and it seemed like shadows were moving behind her, but no one else was there. I froze. A chill ran through my body. When I spoke to her, she didn't respond right away. She seemed focused, like she didn't want to be interrupted. Then, without looking up, she said in a calm voice, "I think they've arrived." I didn't know what to say. "Who, Grandma?" She gripped the rosary tighter and replied steadily, "The souls came to thank me." I didn't have the courage to tell her they'd been with her for a while already. I headed back home. The next day, when I returned with my mom, Grandma was having breakfast like nothing happened. We asked if anyone had been with her the night before, and she said no, that she'd just felt presences around, as always. She told us that for years, when she lights the candle, she feels a strange company, like the air fills with energy. She's never seen anything, but she feels it clearly. She says not to fear them, that they're souls seeking rest, and as long as someone lights a candle for them, they won't be lost. But it scares me. This was one of my strongest paranormal experiences. Listeners, what do you think of this episode? If you're enjoying it, give me a like, comment where you're listening from, and share this video. That helps me a lot to keep creating content, so it reaches more people who can send in their stories. Now, I won't interrupt anymore, and let's move on to the next story. My name is Victoria, I'm 38, and I want to share something that marked me forever. I lived in a small house in the southern part of Arizona, in a quiet neighborhood. I lived alone with my daughter Amelia, who was 13 at the time. Her dad left us when she was born. He just vanished and never came looking. Since then, it's been just the two of us. I worked at a corner store in the mornings and sold homemade lunches in the afternoons. We never had extra, but we didn't go without. I've always considered myself a woman of faith. I'm Catholic, and from a young age, I had great devotion to the souls in purgatory. My grandma taught me that if you pray for them, the souls can help you when you need it most. But I never imagined what I'd go through. It all started one ordinary morning. Amelia got up early for middle school. I packed her lunch before heading to work and kissed her forehead goodbye. But that afternoon, she didn't come home. At first, I thought she'd stayed chatting with friends or maybe at band practice. But when 5 o'clock came and went, I started worrying. I called several moms of her classmates, and none knew anything. They said she'd left as usual. I went out searching the nearby streets, the candy store where she sometimes stopped, the bus stop. No one had seen her. When night fell, despair took over. The worst thoughts flooded my mind, that she'd been kidnapped, that something terrible happened, but no calls came, no ransom demands, nothing. It was like the earth had swallowed her. That night, I called all my family, my sister, my mom, my cousins, everyone went out searching, but no trace. We went to the police station, but the officers said they couldn't take the case until 72 hours passed, that we had to wait, that sometimes kids run off with friends, but my daughter wasn't like that. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. That early morning, I couldn't sleep. I sat on the couch staring at her photo and the gym clothes she'd folded and left on the chair. I dozed off around 2 in the afternoon the next day from exhaustion. I woke up nearly at 8 at night, crying. Still no news. No calls. The knot in my stomach was unbearable. That's when I remembered the souls. So I went to the kitchen, lit a white candle, and placed it on the altar next to an image of Our Lady of Purgatory. I knelt and started praying. I didn't ask for comfort, just to help bring my daughter back alive. I prayed so long I lost track of time. When I checked the clock, it was almost midnight. But as I prayed, I felt something odd, a strange calm washing over my body, and the air began to feel peculiar. It was hard to describe, not fear, but something that made my skin tingle. Then a tremendous sleepiness hit me. I could barely stand and stumbled to my bed. I didn't even cover myself. I fell asleep in seconds. And that's when I had the dream. In the dream, everything was dark. I walked through a neighborhood that seemed familiar, though I couldn't place it. Unpaved streets, empty lots, for sale signs, and ahead of me, 3 silhouettes walking. They had no faces or defined shapes. They looked like wisps of white smoke, but they moved slowly, as if waiting for me. I followed. They didn't speak, but I knew they wanted to show me something. We passed houses, yellow streetlights, dogs barking in the distance. It all felt too real, the wind on my face. We reached a half-built house at the end of a developing subdivision. That house had a black gate closed tight. The place gave me a bad vibe. The 3 silhouettes stopped at the door and pointed inside. At the back, there was a metal lid like a septic tank. One shadow bent down, opened it, and showed me what was within. It was my daughter, tied to a chair. I screamed in the dream and woke up instantly. It was 5 in the morning. I didn't hesitate. I grabbed a jacket and ran out to the street. Nearby, I found a parked patrol car. I approached almost yelling, "Officer, please, I need help. I know where my daughter is." The cops looked surprised. One radioed for backup. I didn't say it was a dream, I just said I had information on the location. Luckily, one agreed to go with me. They drove fast to a neighborhood I somehow recalled. As we turned onto the main avenue, my blood ran cold. It was just like the dream, the same lights in the same spots, the same vacant lots. I told them to stop. There was the house with the black gate, exactly as the figures showed. One officer said they couldn't enter without a warrant, but I couldn't wait. I jumped out and ran to pound on the door, but it was ajar. I pushed it open and rushed in. The house was empty, dusty, no furniture, no sounds. The cops followed, flashing their lights. I'd never been in this house, but it matched my dream perfectly. I went straight to the back, where a metal lid sat on the floor, locked with a padlock. From below, we heard faint cries, so one officer pulled out a lockpick he used for emergencies and opened it in under 2 minutes. He shone the light down, and we all saw her at once. It was my daughter. Hands and feet bound to a chair, a cloth bag over her head. She was moving, sobbing. The officers climbed down quickly. They untied her as best they could and lifted her up between them. I hugged her so tight she could hardly breathe. She cried, shook, but she was alive. They took us straight to the precinct. My daughter didn't remember much. She said a white van cut her off on the way home from school, pulled her in without her seeing who, then everything went dark. They didn't hurt her or ask for a number, they just left her locked in there, and no one came back for days. Something curious too, she remembered that hours before I arrived, out of nowhere, she heard a woman's voice whisper close to her ear, "Your mom's coming soon." But she never heard the lock open or anyone descend. The authorities investigated the house, but no owners turned up. Neighbors said it had been abandoned for years, no one lived there. After that, I moved. I couldn't stay in the same area. I spent years unable to sleep, with nightmares and fear they'd take my daughter again, but also with the certainty that the souls had brought her back. I'm not great at writing, but I want to share something that's happened to me several times. I'm 50, and since 35, I've been devoted to the souls in Purgatory. Every day, I light their candles and pray for the souls. I only pray for them, and I do it with great faith. I've asked them for a few things, and they've granted them, as long as I keep my end. But after praying for them daily for a year, something curious started. Several acquaintances, even family, would say they saw me from afar on the street, but accompanied. Sometimes by a crowd, other times by 4 or 5 people walking with me. A neighbor even joked, "Where was the party that you had all those guests with you?" But I always went alone, and the weirdest part is everyone agreed the people with me weren't clear. It never scared me because I feel they're the souls I've been helping all this time. Sometimes I think when you pray for them, they accompany you too. I'm not a very religious person, but in my family, we've always talked about the souls in Purgatory. My mom and aunt said they were miraculous, that if you pray and ask, they'll help with what you need. So a few years ago, I decided to try. I was 27 then. I lived in a 2-story house in a suburb of Texas with my husband. We were newlyweds, no kids yet. I was a homemaker with plenty of free time, so I figured it wouldn't hurt to pray a bit daily. An aunt gave me a special prayer for the most forgotten souls. She said to do it every day. I did it at 8 at night, always the same time, with a candle. That's how it went. The first nights were normal. I'd light a candle, set a glass of water, and pray quietly. Sometimes my husband was watching TV and joked, "Going to chat with your spirits, huh?" I'd just laugh. For 2 full weeks, I didn't miss a day. But like anything, I started getting tired. Some days I'd forget, others I just didn't feel like it. I didn't know that could have consequences. One Tuesday after dinner, I decided not to, and that's when it began. That same night in bed, not too late, around 11, I heard someone walking downstairs. My husband was asleep beside me, but the steps were slow, deliberate, on the tile floor. I got up to peek from the stairs, but no one was there. Just one thing, the candle on the altar was out, though I'd swear I left it lit. I went back to bed, but sleep was hard. Every time I closed my eyes, I felt someone standing near the bed. The next day, the house felt heavy. Even my skeptical husband noticed. It was like the air was colder than usual, though the weather didn't call for it. I turned on the radio to distract myself. I was doing chores when suddenly, without touching it, the station changed. The voice cut out, and static came on, with garbled words mixed in. That night, I tried to pray again, but something stopped me. When I tried to light the matches, they wouldn't stay lit. It was like someone was blowing them out. Not the wind, since I shielded them, but it still happened. A fierce chill hit me, making me want to bolt from the house. My husband said it was my nerves, that I was suggestible, but he started noticing too. He'd light a match, it'd flicker briefly, and something extinguished it. Days passed, and the paranormal activity ramped up. Once, while sweeping the kitchen, out of the corner of my eye, I saw a shadow dart from the bathroom to the living room. My husband was at work, I was utterly alone. I checked, but no one, except one detail, the glass of water I'd placed on the altar hours ago was completely empty. I don't know how that happened. That early morning, something else occurred. While sleeping, my husband woke me, a bit scared, saying he felt someone sit at the foot of the bed. He got up to turn on the light out of fear. As he lay back down, we heard a wail. It was like a woman sob from downstairs. It didn't last long, but enough to keep us from sleeping peacefully all night. The next day, I napped in the afternoon, but the paranormal followed into my dreams. I dreamed I was in the living room praying at the altar, but not alone. Behind me stood many people. They were standing still, all pale, staring at me. In front was a woman in black, face wrinkled, expression stern, like anger. I woke soaked in sweat with a pounding headache. That night, my husband asked what was wrong, and I told him the dream. He said that early morning, he'd felt someone tug the blanket. One Saturday was the worst. From early on, thumps came from upstairs, like someone in heavy boots walking. The fan turned on by itself, doors slammed sometimes, and the air felt icy, thick, dreadful. While washing dishes, trying to ignore it all, the radio switched on untouched, playing static like breathing on the other end. Also curious, the neighborhood dogs wouldn't stop barking at our door. That time, as I headed upstairs to the bedroom, a black shadow zipped wall to wall and vanished before me. When my husband got home, he tried to calm me, but that night was the worst. At 3 in the morning, a horrific scream woke us. It wasn't inside or outside the house, it was like from the roof. Followed by rapid footsteps on the downstairs stairs, as if trying to come up. My husband went down with a baseball bat, but found nothing. I was shaking, sitting in bed, and right behind me, I heard a sigh. It was so clear we both turned at once. I couldn't take it anymore. Nervous, trembling with fear, I burst into tears. I started reciting the Our Father over and over, and only then did things quiet down. The next day, I couldn't stand it. I felt watched constantly. The house was cold, lights flickered on alone, appliances started by themselves. The house was infested with paranormal activity, with ghosts. That night, we decided to sleep at a nearby motel. Once in the room, my mom called, and I answered. I started telling her what was happening, and she confidently said it was the souls angry with me for not keeping up the prayers. I hung up a bit nervous but relieved, thinking I'd sleep well that night. I never imagined the souls in Purgatory would follow me. That night, as soon as I lay down, I felt someone climb on top of me. I couldn't move or scream. Sleep paralysis. My eyes were open. I saw my husband sleeping beside me, but atop me was a figure, a young woman, quite striking. She floated, screaming silently. I felt shaken, but couldn't react. When I finally could move, my body ached all over. I cried through the early morning. I didn't want to sleep again. The next day, the same aunt advised me to go to church. I told her everything, and she said the same, that it was because I'd left the souls halfway, that they get angry when you don't follow through. I went to Mass, brought new candles, and asked forgiveness. That same night, I prayed again, shaking, but I did it. My husband and I apologized, saying it wasn't our intent to upset them, that we'd stop praying, but hoped they'd find peace. Since then, everything returned to normal. Years have passed, and I still remember this story with immense fear. I learned that when you start with the souls, do it with faith and respect, because if you forget them, they'll make sure to remind you. Listeners, what did you think of this episode? If you have a ghost story or had a paranormal encounter, send it to the email Haunted Echoes Official or to the Facebook page Haunted Echoes. I'll leave the link in the pinned comment. And well, good night, listeners. Thanks for tuning in, and see you soon in a new episode. But wait, listeners, as the candle flickers low tonight, I can't shake the feeling that one of these souls might be listening right now, waiting for their story to be told next. What if the next whisper you hear isn't just the wind,